Wow, it's me again, and it's yeah, like I said, it's me again, and I'm back. Welcome to. Actually, no, I need to do this audio thing, right? Oh man, I just realized my monster drink's all the way over there. Let me go get it though. Let me go get it and come back into this. Wow. Okay, I'm back. Just drinking some Monster Energy Zero Ultra. I don't know what to put it. Maybe I should finish it. So refreshing. It's like 8 or like 9 p.m. right now. And I'm like just having my just having an energy drink. Wow. All right. Well, I'm back. Welcome back to Finding a Gratitude. It's so good to be here. I'm just trying to come up with my notes, man. It's crazy how I was just thinking about this now. Actually, like it's crazy how we're always constantly. I don't know if it's battling, but I guess we always have, you know, um, our conscious telling us that we're either not good enough, and yeah, well, if we're either not good enough or just telling us, I guess, negative stuff onto why we're doing things. Because, like, even today, I was just like, man, I'm so not bothered to record a podcast or do a podcast. And I guess the me not being bothered was coming from actually not feeling like I'm putting out, good enough content out there. That I guess it's worthy, but then it's like what it's worthy, and yeah, you know what I mean? It's just a constant battle. And like, I'm like, why do I have this type of thoughts? Why am I thinking this way? And I guess I'm reading this book at the moment. Actually, I should probably keep to my script and go, how I actually plan this to go, but it doesn't matter. But I am reading this book called The Courage to Be Disliked. And it talks about Adler's psychology. Adler Psychology? Yeah, I guess so. Adler, I think it's Alfred Adler. He was a physician or psychiatrist, or maybe both. And yeah, he came up with his own kind of like, I guess, theory, and he called it Adler's psychology. But anyway, he talks about, man, what was I trying to get to? What? Because I was, oh yeah, he talks about that. We just through our upbringings and through childhood and all that stuff, like sometimes depending on the environment that we are brought in, the environment that we're brought in is very competitive, and we think that we're competing with everyone, especially if you got siblings and you're kind of similar age. It's kind of like you're always competing for, it could be your parents' love, or you're just competing to be better, and because of it, it kind of puts us in in a position later on in life, and it makes us think that everyone is competing against us, and instead it shouldn't be like that. Like we should be all be working together to achieve a greater good, instead of thinking that we're all adding competition with each other, because that type of mentality is gonna get you to, or it's gonna make you have this type of thoughts where you're thinking that you're not good enough because you're constantly comparing yourself to other people, because it's all that competition type of thing, man. It's pretty interesting. I will touch more about this Adler psychology and about the book that I'm reading at the moment, The Courage to Be Disliked. I purchased it a few weeks ago now, maybe 3 weeks, 2 weeks ago. I'm like halfway through it. Pretty good book. Apparently, it was written in Japanese, I believe, and it just got recently translated. So it's pretty good book, man. It's a pretty good book. But man, wow, what a week it has been, man. I can't believe it's been 7 days now that I haven't spoken on this microphone and tell you guys with my experiences and whatnot. It's kind of crazy. I don't have social media in a sense. I got rid of Facebook. I got rid of Instagram. And I know in the past when I was, I guess more active on the social media game, I would be more open about my experiences and stuff. I guess especially on stories, I would be posting a lot about stories, and now I think about it, it's like shit. Like I don't post any stories now, but I guess the stuff that I want to talk about, I can talk about in this podcast. So funny enough, you always find ways to express yourself in a way, because I guess I'm just trying to be heard. Wow, I don't know, man. But what a week it has been. Did I do this already? I'm pretty sure I did. What a week it has been, man. So if you joined in last week's podcast, I wasn't stuck in a predicament or anything like that, but I was given this opportunity, man. Everything, everything's an opportunity to either do something. I mean, you're always going to be doing something, like regardless. But the opportunity, I guess, can always present itself. And man, we can sometimes think it's negative, or sometimes think it's positive. When in reality, it's always neutral. It's just how we react to it, I guess. But yeah, so last week, what day was it? Monday, I think. My housemate told me. I mean, just listen to the podcast from last week. So I was put in this position where I was like, okay, I can't stay at home. What do I do? I obviously have other places that I could stay at, but I was like, fuck it, you know what? I'm gonna rent a camper van, and shout out to a couple of my friends that I asked. Well, I didn't ask, but I guess I brought it up. I'm like, hey, do you reckon I should do this? And I think I talked about it to two people, and both of them, they were like, definitely fucking do it. So shout out Jai and Lenny, man, for fucking telling me to just fucking do it. And I did, man. And I rented a camper van for 5 days. I fucked off for a little bit. I think I rented it out on Wednesday. I had to hand it back on Sunday, so that is yesterday. And man, what an experience he has been, bro. Like, fuck, I'm sure I will put up some photos of the places that I've seen um, through my trips. But essentially, I drove up north for about 4 hours to, I think, Diamond Point or Diamond Head. Let me just check out my maps so I can tell you. But I drove maybe like 4 hours. Was it 4 hours, man? I can't remember, man. It's been like 5 days ago. But man, God, I am so like filled with, again, I don't know if it's happiness or just bunch of love, man. I guess love being outdoors so much that when I get to travel, and especially after last week's podcast, when I'm talking about experiences over possessions, and I gave this analogy of life being this empty book where every time we experience something, we're filling up the pages. And going out in nature and exploring and like seeing all these new places, bro, it was making me so fucking happy. Like, I definitely want to do it again because it was fucking so good. Fucking take me back. All right, so where did I go? Yeah, so I traveled out to Diamond Head, which is, how far is it from Sydney? Yeah, it's 4 hours. Shit. Yeah, so I traveled there on the Wednesday. Um, Diamond Head. I put up some photos. Bam, that's what it kind of looks like, I guess. So that's the photos that I took. So I went out. I got a camper van. I ended up staying at the Diamond Head campgrounds. I didn't have a booking though, so I just showed up. Luckily, they were nice enough that they allowed me to pay in the morning, because I think I got there around 12 or just after 12, maybe like 1 in the morning. So I was like, oh shit, are they gonna like tell me to F off? But they were nice enough to let me in. Why can't I find this Diamond Head again? Yeah. It's weird. Why? Oh, it's because I got it selected. But yeah, so I spent some time in Diamond Head. It was like a day. I think I just slept over Wednesday to Thursday night. I traveled up north to Charles Hammy Lookout, Camden Head Lookout. But yeah, so I was out there for a little bit, Diamond Head, I think for a day, and then started to drive back down to like Foster, 1 Mile Beach. Man, there's so much beautiful scenery out there. Hey, and I just kept coming down to Tiona, and then down to also Elizabeth Beach, and that was fucking cracker. Then went to Seal Rocks. That was fucking good as well, man. Like, well, the waves were fucking choppy as fuck. It was pretty good. I went to Number One Beach. What was the other beach that I went to? Boat Beach. They had a cool as well. Like, man, it's funny because I've been watching Parks and Rec, and obviously, if you've seen Parks and Rec, it talks about the Parks and Recreational department within the government body. And bro, just seeing how some of the parks are kept in northern New South Wales, like the coast and whatever, I'm just like, oh shit, these guys are pretty much, know the stuff and making sure that everything looks fucking good. And everything did look pretty good. And yeah, so this photo up here is like there's a bench with some seats, overlooks just the beach, man. It's fucking beautiful. I ended up, yeah, there was another one as well up the top of Boat Beach. I have this photo here where this is obviously not done by the Parks and Rec, I guess, but it's done by just regular people. And they set up, yeah, another bench with some tables, but you're so high up that you can actually overlook the beach, man. Fucking lovely. Yeah, so Seal Rocks was fucking banger. And then went down to Hawk's Nest. Man, I can't believe I went to so much stuff. And then I ended up being in Newcastle. Funny story. Well, funny story. I don't know if it's a funny story, but I'll mention it anyway. So I was meant to come back on Sunday. That's when I was meant to return the camper van. Oh, here's a photo of the camper van, by the way. Pretty schmick. Nice. Bro, it's... I know I was about to tell a story, but man, just let me talk about a bit more about living that camper life, bro. Like, oh, bro, you have no idea like how good it is to just park out somewhere. Something I learned as well. I mean, I kind of already knew before traveling out there because I was doing some Google searches. But you have to pay for if you're gonna be staying at campgrounds. So there are some free ones. I think there's a couple of them all over Australia. Also, something I learned was that it's illegal to just park anywhere you want and just pretty much sleep. So it's illegal to do that. Yeah, so you have to pretty much park your car at a campground and make sure you're paying the fees. There's a parking fee, and there's also a fee for staying at the campgrounds. And you got to make sure that there's availability, and especially because of COVID now, they've made it that you have to pre-book, so you have to do everything online, which I guess they should have already done that. Like it should have been like that before anyway. But I think before you had to go there and then make sure that, or like go there at the hours that their offers would be open at and request the booking and pay for it. But it's kind of shitty though because if you rocked up there and there was no availability, you would have been like, oh shit, I can't stay here. And then you have to keep looking for other campgrounds. But essentially, yeah, so like I said, you have to pay to stay at campgrounds. It's illegal to just park anywhere because you can get fined. And then, yeah, so I learned that. But man, how it's just so good. Like the amount of beaches that I just pulled over when I was just traveling either north or south back to Sydney. Man, I would just put over next to the beach, and because I had a camper van, I would just open the doors and just chill out there. I had a cheeky vape, read my book, and just overlook the water, man. And it was just like, fuck, this is so great. Like, I just want to be living this. I just want to be doing this all the time. It was so good just to be out in nature. And man, I went to some beaches where there was no one there, and I was just like, fuck, how is it just me here? And like, I was just so grateful all the time. Even like driving through like the freeway, man, and just seeing just nature and like mountains and just green and blue skies and the water. I was just so like in awe, man. I was just like, fuck, how good is life? Yeah, I was so man, I've been beaming with like just energy, I guess, from this trip. Experiences, man, they just fill me up so much that I just want to somehow give it all back. Like just radiating with so much energy. How do I give back all this energy? That's actually something I just remembered that I just remembered. Yeah, about yeah. I won't talk about that just yet though. But yeah, essentially, man, camper van. I'm so jade. I think I'm definitely gonna buy one. Just thinking about how much money I should spend in one. I've kind of fallen in love with a Volkswagen Transporter, like an '05, '06 model. I think it's a do they call it the T5 models? I think it is a T5, man, but they look so smeek. I'm like, fuck, I so want to get one. So I've been having a look at car sales, and they go from like depending on how many Ks and depending if it's just a van or if it's been converted to a camper, be looking around like 9 to 20 Gs for a T5 maybe, and it just keep going up. I saw one, the most expensive one is like 80K because it's all done up, but I'm like, fuck, that's so good. And then also just being by the ocean, man, it just made me want to get a boat now as well. I'm like, fuck, I need to get a boat as well. But man, so my travels out to northern New South Wales and just up the coast was so good, man. And then the other thing is you're just because I travel alone, so I was just by myself, and most of the time it's just you, and then sometimes you don't have any reception, so you can't be, looking on your phone and hoping to be entertained every single time that you've got your phone. Like other, I don't know. For me, I go on YouTube a lot and watch a lot of videos, and sometimes I watch Netflix and all those apps, all the streaming apps. But having not reception, you're just there and you're just there with your thoughts, and it's good, man. Cause like yeah, I guess it puts you in a position where you can't escape your thoughts. It's like when you catch a flight. It's funny because I watched Joe Rogan's, actually Aubrey Marcus podcast with Joe Rogan. They talk about this, but like when you catch a flight and you're in the plane, there's only so much you can do, right? Like you're gonna be sitting down. I don't know if it's gonna be a long flight or not, but you might be sitting down for fucking quite a long time. Might be like 12 hours. You obviously can't get up, go to the bathroom, but if you haven't, I mean, now we've got phones with streaming apps, so we can actually download, episodes on Netflix, so we can stream it offline. Same with Stan, and I guess all the other like Disney Plus and all the other ones as well. And also planes, that if it's long flights, you also got a screen that you'll be able to watch movies on. You can also, have a laptop and you can download movies and whatnot. So you can easily be entertained on planes. But sometimes, when you don't want to watch anything, you just have to be there with your thoughts. So it's kind of similar, to being or just being outdoors and not having any reception, or like camping, right? Like you just have to sit there with your thoughts, especially if you're just by yourself, because who else are you going to be talking to? Yourself. So it was good to be with myself, and it's funny though because I'm usually by myself. I spend most of my day being by myself, so it wasn't too different. The only thing was that not being able to, have that instant YouTube or be entertained in a way. I could obviously read my book here and there, but at night time when it's like 10 o'clock, if I turn my light on, then I'm gonna get a lot of mosquitoes and flies to come through. So I learned that as well. So I can't really do too much. I'm just here with my thoughts, close my eyes. I obviously, vaped a little bit, so I was even more stuck with my thoughts, and I'm just like, shit, there's no way out of it. You have to just go through it. And like the stuff that you think about, it's I guess not challenging, but the stuff that might be challenges that are presented to you at the time being, at that present time, when it's like when you've got decisions to make and you just can't get away from those thoughts, so you have to actually go through it and learn and just learn more about yourself. It was fucking great, man. It was fucking great. But on the Saturday, I was traveling back. Funny story. My friend calls me up, and he's like, "Oh, we're gonna go hang out." Or I'm gonna go hang out with my other mate. Or I've rang my other mate, which is also my mate, Gogi 300, and yeah. So we're gonna hang out. Do you wanna come down? And I'm like, "Fuck, I'm in Newcastle." I was maybe like half an hour from Newcastle. And I'm like, fuck, I was planning to stay here for one more day, but I guess if you guys are gonna have a cheeky one, I should come hang out. So I started driving back from wherever I was to Sydney, and then the engine started to overheat. So it was, going into hot instead of staying in the middle. The meter, or like whatever you want to call that stuff, where it goes hot and cold in the engine. I was like, oh shit, it's getting way too hot. So I pulled over, white smoke started to come out. I'm like, fuck. So um, what the fuck? I ended up googling it, because thank God for Google. And then I added some water into the coolant, because I didn't have any coolant at that time. So I added some water instead. And what is it? Is it in the radiator? I'm not too sure where the water or the coolant goes into, but I put some of that, and I waited 15 minutes, and then I drove to a BP. I got to the BP. I ended up buying coolant. I put more water on it. Um, but then it started to leak. So the water or the coolant that I was filling it up with, it started to leak. So I was like, oh shit, what do I do? What do I do? And at the beginning, I guess I was kind of like, I guess not upset, but I was just like stressing out a little bit on it. I'm like, fuck, what am I gonna do? It's like 3 p.m. I was also gonna meet up with my friend Rowan. I was gonna catch up with him because he lives like an hour south from Newcastle, an hour north from Sydney. So I was gonna go catch up with him. And I'm like, fuck, I told him I'll be there at 4. It's like almost 3:30 now. The car's overheating. I'm also meant to go meet my mates, Green and Goran, at their place at like 6 or 7, and everything was just kind of like stressing me out. So I was like, fuck, what do I do? Um, And then I went onto the website that I hired the van from, Camplify, and then I saw that it's got 24/7 roadside assistance. So I was just like, fuck it, I'm gonna ring them. I ring them. I spoke to them on the phone, and yeah, they said like, yeah, sweet, we'll send someone out there from the NRMA because that's who they're partnered with. So NRMA people came down, checked the van, and like, oh yeah, no, it's definitely leaking. You're not gonna be able to drive it, so we're gonna have to tow it to a motor service repair center. So I was like, yeah, sweet. What about me? And then it's like, you'll have to speak to, I guess, Camplify. So I got on the phone to Camplify. Man, they're fucking amazing. Hey, they ended up booking me a hotel in Newcastle. They got me a taxi from the BP stop or the petrol station that I stopped at. They got me an Uber from there to the hotel. I got to the hotel. I told them, the dude, what's up? He was a young dude, probably early 20s. Chatted to him, and he's like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna upgrade you to the top level. Get like a better view, even though it wasn't really much of a view because the top floor was on the sixth floor. But I got upgraded to a mad room, big bed, and I could have, I guess, I was talking to my mate Maurice the day after that because I ended up catching up with him on the Sunday, right? And he's like, "Fuck, bro! Like you could have reacted." I was telling him the story, and he's like, "Fuck, you could have reacted." To how the story was unfolding in a negative way. I could have been like, getting angry at the whole situation. And I'm like, yeah, but what's the whole point of getting angry on a situation, man? Like we always have a choice, we always can be like, yeah, I guess react to it in a negative way or react to it in a positive way. I hate using those words because, sorry, actually, I don't mind using negative and positive. I don't like using good or bad because the meaning that we've given to, you know what I mean? Like things are not good or bad. They're just, I guess they're kind of subjective in a sense, man. This is what the book, The Courage to Be Disliked, is actually teaching me a fair bit on. But yeah, so I was like, yeah, you know what? You're right. Like I was talking to my mate Maurice about it because I didn't like. I'm not. I guess at the beginning it was stressing me out because I didn't know what to do. Right, I didn't know that there was the roadside assistance with Camplify, and then that they will organize, for me to stay and pay for all this shit. So I didn't know that they were gonna do all that. So at the beginning I was stressed out, and then also like telling the owner of the vehicle of the van that the van is broken down. I was stressing about that as well. So I guess stress came in at the beginning, but then after that I was just going with the flow. I wasn't angry or anything. I was just like, man, it's like I can't control this. I mean, I could have maybe if I wasn't. No, I mean, maybe if I didn't get a call from my mate saying to come back to Sydney that day, I would have not started traveling back out, and then I don't know, man. The story would have unfolded a bit different. But there's no point in judging or reacting to how things are unfolding in a negative way. Like I guess through my previous experiences, with also psychedelics, and also going through like chemotherapy and just going through treatment and just I guess the post cancer life, like it's taught me a lot that like what we can do at any certain moment is just be self-aware onto how we react to the situations as they present themselves. So every time something happens, I'm always like, fuck, I always got a choice. No point of being angry. Let's just see how we can move forward, or how can we progress with with whatever the situation it's happening at the moment. So I was fine, man. And then like some people would think that that's a bad thing that happened, that the van broke down and I had to deal with all this roadside assistance. I essentially had to wait 2 hours at the BP stop. Luckily, I had stopped at at a place where they had a petrol station out at Macca's, Guzman and Gomez, like KFC. They had all this shit, you know what I mean? So I parked up there. I obviously had reception at that point. I was kind of close to Newcastle, so I had reception. I ended up getting a feed. I was watching some shows on my phone. I was watching Loki. So time went pretty quick. Obviously had another chicky vape there while I just waited. So I wasn't put in a place where I was just angry like from then on. Like I just wasn't angry. I was like, fuck it, like this thing has happened. Let's just look I wasn't even thinking about let's look at the positives out of it. I'm just like, fuck it, this is gonna be bringing me more experiences now. I'm gonna stay at fucking Newcastle. I'm gonna get a hotel. So I ended up going to the hotel, getting upgraded to this fucking room. And I'm like, you know what? This is actually probably the best thing that could have happened because now I have a hotel room. So I showered for like 20, 30 minutes because I haven't really had a proper shower. Obviously, I've been going to the like a swim at the beach, and then they also have showers at the campgrounds. But it's just some of them only have cold water, so it's tough, man. Well, it's not tough. It's just different. So just going back to this hotel room and then having fucking a hot shower, all this body wash, all this free shampoo, conditioners, and all that stuff, like creams and soaps. And I was like, holy shit, this is probably the best thing that could actually happen to in my trip, especially at the end, right? Because it could have happened at the beginning, it could happen in the middle of it, but no, it happened on the way back to Sydney. So I was like, fuck, man, this is fucking good. And yeah, so I spent the night in Newcastle, the hotel, and then Camplify booked me a rental car, man. Sixt is the name of the company. But yeah, they booked me a rental car. They got me into a taxi in the morning from the hotel to the airport in Newcastle. It's like half an hour from Newcastle. And then got into a car, a nice Toyota Corolla, fucking 2020 model, I think. And yeah, they booked it for a whole day. I didn't have to pay. Well, the only thing that I had to pay for was not a booking fee. I paid for like a holding fee, like $100 holding fee, which essentially, hopefully, they just transfer it back to me. So, but essentially, everything else was for free. And I guess the petrol that it cost me to drive back to Sydney. But yeah, so I got they booked me a car from Newcastle to Sydney, and I could drop it off at Sydney, and it was booked for one day, man. So I'm like, fuck. So I can just continue with my travels now. So I picked it up on Sunday, had to return on a Monday, which is today. So I'm like, man, this just keeps getting better and better. So I had a car. I was gonna go visit my mate as well that lives south from Newcastle, but didn't get back to me on time. So I had made plans to my mate Maurice. I went to see him. And then, man, and then I was talking to him, and then he tells me as well. He tells me a story that, bro, the other day I was just walking with my dog. I think, yeah, he was walking his dog, and he started talking to this other female that also was walking his dog, and then they became friends and whatnot. And the other day she came up to him and he's like, "Hey, man, like, do you know anyone that can get some shrooms?" I was like, holy shit, what? And then she explains the story that her friend, she's a much older lady, so I guess she's like, like late 40s probably. But she's like, yeah, so I was talking to my friend and she was telling me that she's done ayahuasca ceremonies, San Pedro ceremonies. Man, I'm so intrigued about San Pedro as well. Fuck, so San Pedro is the cactus. They actually call it, or the actual native name is Wachuma. The reason why the Spaniards call it San Pedro is because St. Peter is the saint that is at the pearly gates of heaven, that is guarding the gates. So, and like the reason why they call it San Pedro was like because every time they would take San Pedro, it would put them, or like they'll have the experience as if they're entering heaven. So then that's why they call it San Pedro. But this real name is Wachuma, man. But yeah, so apparently Melbourne, they have ayahuasca ceremonies up there. They have San Pedro ceremonies up there. I'm so down to do San Pedro. Apparently, the way that you consume it, you can either bake it, you can eat it, you can also make it into a tea. It's essentially a cacti, right? But essentially, it's like MDMA. So it's like, yeah, MDMA, like Molly. Makes and like shrooms. Even though I kind of see both of them very similar, where you just want to express all your love towards everyone and everything around you. So I definitely want to do Wachuma, man. Yeah, and if it's coming from a plant, bro, fucking let's do it. But yeah, so she talks about this, like, she's got a friend that's done that, and now she is microdosing psilocybins and mushrooms, and she is living a fucking, like, she's never felt happier in her life ever before. So now this person wants to try it. I can't remember her name, and I maybe shouldn't be saying it out anyway. But yeah, so like now she's like, fuck. So now I want to give it a shot because obviously we all go through stuff in our lives, man. We're always dealing with drama. Like life is just all about, I guess, not just obstacles, but just things that keep happening to us, right? And then how do we react to things? So life can put us in a very depressive state, man, and we all go through it. So she's obviously dealing and battling her own battles, and she's going through a lot of emotional stuff. So she's like, I need some clarity. I need something to help me balance, all these negative emotions into, or just balance all emotions. So it's so crazy how she asked my mate though. She's like, hey, do you know anyone that can get some mushrooms? And then he was like, fuck, maybe my mate Miguel might be able to help you some. So I spoke with Maurice. He's like, come down to my house. I went to his house. He tells me the story. I was like, you know what? I actually have some mushrooms with me right now. So let's call her up and let's go give her some. So, man, and it just it feels so good to help people. I obviously had to let her know to do her own research, make sure she knows what she's doing. She said that yeah, her friend does 1 day on, 2 days off. There's different ways how you can do microdosing. So I know some people do like 4 days on, 3 days off, or like 3 days on, 5 days off, and they do that continuously. Or like how her friend does it. She's doing it 1 day on, 2 days off. It's mainly so your tolerance doesn't build up, because obviously if you're doing it every single day, your tolerance is going to be it's going to be building up, that essentially you're going to need more mushes. And the way that she wants to do it is just take point 0.1, 1 day on, 2 days off. So I was like, sweet, you know what? Here's a gram. Hopefully you have transfer. I mean, not even hopefully. Just look, do your own research. This is the best thing that I can tell you about these things. This is what it is. And yeah, look, here's my number, here's my contact details. Please contact me if anything changes, anything goes wrong, or just let me know in a few weeks how your experience has been, and if it actually has helped you. Because if it has helped you, then I can put you in touch with people that will be able to get you some more and whatever, and just help her with her own journey, man. But then I was talking to my mate Maurice about this, right? And I'm like, fuck, bro. Like, if I never, if the van didn't break down, yeah, if the van didn't break down, I would have not had a rental car, and I would have not come and hanged out with you today, which was yesterday, so the Sunday. And I was like, bro, like, I always get reminded about this quote that Steve Jobs always said, or like, not always says because he's actually passed away, but he used to say that we can't connect the dots looking forward, but we can always connect them looking back. And it's so true, bro. You can't draw things looking forward, so you can't be like building I mean, you can try to, especially with like visualization and whatnot, and law of attraction and stuff. You can try to draw that line, but it's not until you've reached there where you look back and you're like, fuck, like this needed to happen for this to happen, and then this to happen, and this to happen. And yeah, man. And it's so true, bro. And I'm just like, fuck. And then I just became so grateful that everything had happened already to put me in that position where I was able to help someone try to better their life in the situation they're in. So I was like, fuck, bro, fucking life is so good. I cannot get angry at all the situations that has happened to me. Like within the last couple of days, I've had a fucking amazing experience out in nature. Bro, you have no idea. It's just wow, in awe, fucking so much. Like I was just wow, wow. Every time I would go somewhere new, and I'm just like, how the fuck is this real life, bro? How the fuck do we have massive waves crashing? And bro, like some of these waves were fucking just, if I could say omnipotent, but that's not really true. But it was just fucking powerful, man. It just wave, the amount of energy that comes from water, bro, and like the moon that's dark, creating these tides and shit. I'm just like, fuck. And I guess those waves were pretty big because there was a volcano that erupted. What do they call that? A underground volcano that erupted around Tonga, I think, like 2 days, 3, 4 days ago. So maybe that's why the waves were fucking massive and just powerful. But man, just seeing that, going to the lake surrounded by mountains and shit, and just all green, bro. I was just in awe fucking majority of the fucking time. Maybe it was also the mushes that I had taken as well, I think twice or once. That got me a bit in awe, and just really thinking about myself, and not so much about how I want this year to go, but just thinking about the path that I'm on and how I can continue to do small things to create momentum so I can keep going and to achieve bigger things. But bruh, that was me traveling around northern New South Wales and traveling alone and having to deal with everything that happened and seeing, I guess, the positive out of it, man. And yeah, and then I caught up with my friend, and then he might have had some mushies, maybe not. He does work a lot, bro. He's fucking a workhorse. So I guess it's good to know yourself and listen to yourself to know that, hey, it's time to a break. And I guess this is how I man, I'm so good at segueing to my next topic. But listening to yourself, man, that's something that that I actually learned, I guess, as I relapsed. Because, like I said, I got first diagnosed in 2016, and then I relapsed in 2018. But but through all that time, I guess thinking about it now, like what it was teaching me was to just pay attention more to myself, man. Because after I got sick in 2016, and then after I got all cleared at the end of 2016, 2017, I was just into like all work mode, man. I'm like, fuck it. You know what? I could have died. I'm alive. Fucking what can I do? And I'm going to put all my energy to it, like on it. So I started to, do videos. I met numerous amounts of people. I met, YouTube communities. Wow, it's crazy how, wow, Meetup. Yeah, Meetup was an app. I mean, Meetup, I think it's still an app, but I looked up there. Man, I was just so keen on meeting other people that were in the same creative space. Went through Meetup. I was looking at YouTube, but I was probably working too much and I wasn't paying attention to my body as much. So I feel like that's why in 2018 I kind of relapsed because I wasn't sleeping right. I wasn't eating right. I was overworking myself and I wasn't listening to my body when like my body would be like, you need to rest. You should go to sleep for fucking a day or something because you've been up for 3 days just meeting people, filming stuff, editing stuff for clients. So maybe I should go to sleep. And I wasn't listening to myself. And I guess I was putting myself in a position where it's like sickness is going to start fucking growing again because a lot of, not trauma, but a lot of stress was coming into play. Because I had stress on, I had to do, I had to go film this for a client and I need to do some deliverables. I need to edit. I need to do this. I had too many tasks. So I was just overflowing in tasks. I wasn't giving myself time. I wasn't paying myself attention to myself to realize that I needed a bit of a break. So the same thing how my friend was experiencing, right? Because he's like, I've been working a lot. I haven't done any substances for a few months now. So maybe I should have some mushies. And bro, like intuitively, your body is going to be telling you things if you're actually willing to listen and pay attention. And then you can help to do that by, I guess, meditation or even going on a trip like how I went to, because then I was put in a position where I didn't have technology in a sense. I couldn't do anything but just be with my own thoughts and just pay attention to my thoughts and my body and realize what it's actually telling me. And I think that's a crucial thing that I actually learned through 2018 to, I guess, to now, and I'm still learning it. And it's just learning to pay attention to yourself. And I think at the beginning, or like when I started my journey on that, would have been with psychedelics, right? Because I was doing psychedelics to put myself in different experiences so I could learn more about myself. So even from then, like what year was it? I can't even remember. Maybe 2014 maybe would have been, or 2013 would have been the year where I started to, um, go in deep with psychedelics and go through all these experiences and learning more about myself and just being self-aware, man. I think that's like the key to majority of the things, just being self-aware. Being self-aware on how your body reacts to things, being self-aware how your mind reacts to things, and just paying attention to your body, man. It's fucking telling you things like without you actually realizing it, man. But yeah, I mean, I could talk heaps more about, I guess, paying attention to yourself and paying attention to the body. I guess the only thing that I could leave you with at the moment, because we're kind of running almost to 40 minutes, and there's still one more thing I think that I want to talk about, which is going back into their book that I've been reading. But man, listening to yourself, man, fuck, like what's the best advice that I could do to start paying attention to yourself? I guess meditation helped for me meditation. I used to do. I have tried guided meditation where I would have gone to a place where there's a speaker and then or the guide, and the guide is just guiding the meditation. I've been through a few times. Most of the times I just pass out. But something else that I do to make me pay attention more to myself is, I guess, it's just consuming cannabis, but being by yourself. So you get more into your head, and it's like almost being, or it kind of puts me in a meditative state, and I'm sure others would feel the same way when you smoke weed or you consume cannabis. That kind of puts you in a meditative state where all you do is be there with your thoughts and you're present with your thoughts. And I guess through that practice, you like your body will just be telling you things more. Because obviously, the more you do something, the easier it's going to become for you to actually do it, and you're just going to get better at it. So I guess through time, like now, it's not too hard for me to just listen to my body and just really pay attention to what it's telling me. Like, especially like listening to your gut, because sometimes you're put into a position where you're just like, I don't think I should be here. And it's funny because your gut knows, right? Like pretty much your gut is your second brain, fucking biodome. I don't even know if that's right. Man, there's so many big words that are coming to my head and I'm like, fuck, do I use that now? Do I use that later? But yeah, so essentially your gut is your second brain and it's literally that like gut feeling that is telling you like you should do this or you shouldn't do this. And I guess for me, what's made me be more intuitively and be more in touch with myself, I guess, is smoking cannabis and doing the meditation and doing the work. Because then now I'm just like, oh, my body's telling me I shouldn't do this, or I shouldn't do that, or it's like my body's telling me it's hungry or it's thirsty. And something else as well that actually just came up to mind now is when I was doing the 12 weeks hard work pays off training program by Matt Fraser. I was training like 2-3 hours a day for 6 days a week, and it was pretty full on, right? And I also wanted to lose fat. I mean, I still have the goal to get to 10% body fat. Obviously, right now I'm not getting that lean because I haven't trained in over a week, I think. But I did go for runs. Um, but yeah, so I was trying to be on a calorie deficit, and as you might be aware, if you're on a calorie deficit, you're eating less calories, meaning that you're eating less energy to be able to be converted to actual like to be outputted as energy, so you can do things. So essentially, if you go into a calorie deficit, you should be having less energy to do things. So if you go into a calorie deficit, most of the people are going to be more tired, right? But funny enough, I was in a calorie deficit and I was still training 3 hours a day and I wasn't as tired. Like and it's weird though, because it's like, because like then he made me think, and I'm like, can I tell my body that yeah, you might have consumed less today, but there's still like reserved energy somewhere in my body that you'll be able to find, calories in a sense that you'll be able to convert into energy so I don't get tired. And it's like, because I am so in touch with myself, does that like, do I actually have that connectivity within my own body for my brain to be telling it that? So it's like, yeah, you don't have, or yeah, today you haven't consumed enough calories for you to, still be up 12 hours after you've woken up and had 3 hours of a session. Like, yeah, you should feel tired, right now, or even like 10 days in. And it's like, I've been in a calorie deficit for 10 days and it's like, fuck. Um, and then am I somehow telling my body that, yeah, you're eating less calories, but you still have that reserved energy somewhere where you can pull that out? I don't know, man. Because it started to make me think about that, because I was talking to people at the gym and they were telling me, yeah, like, I'm not bothered to train at the moment because I'm in a calorie deficit. So I'm only going to be training 3 times a week. And I'm just like, how was I the opposite when I was on a calorie deficit and training 3 hours a week? How, like, I guess I did have some days where I was tired, but it was mainly because I was sleeping 5 hours a week, man. Sorry, 5 hours a day for like a week or whatever, Because sometimes I do bad, like especially when I don't have any cannabis at night. I can't shut off my mind, and I think something that I've realized as well is having screens, man. Like actually looking at screens, looking at the computer, watching the TV, and just having that light touch my eyes. Because obviously, when I was traveling in the camper van, I wasn't getting much light. So and my sleeping patterns were according to the sun. So by like 10 o'clock, I'm like, oh fuck, I'm pretty tired. And by 12, I would be passed out. 6:30, 7 o'clock, when the sun is rising, I would wake up. I'll have 47 hours of sleep, pretty much. I think averaging about 5 to 6 hours of sleep every single day when I was camping or was in a camper van. And I wasn't tired at all. I would wake up and I was just like, fuck, I'm ready to go. But but yeah, see, so I don't know, man. I question myself a lot and about situations that have happened, and I'm like, does that happen? And it's meant to, like, this is meant to happen, but for me, it's different, and it makes me wonder if it's because of all the stuff that I've gone through and the things that I've learned through the past years, that I am more connected with myself and things are different. I don't know, man. But yeah, so I thought I'd bring that up as well. But then, man, and then I also, because like I said, I'm reading this book, The Courage to Be Disliked, and like it talks about a feeling of inferiority. Man, I'm going to be saying these words badly. So feeling inferior, and then also in the contrary. So if you're feeling inferior, you also need to have the pursuit of superiority. I'm probably going to chop that word as well. So it's obviously pursuing to be superior, and then he says he pretty much doesn't say. Well, I mean, I guess he does say the example that pretty much when we're born or when we come into this world, we are helpless beings, man. We have no power. So through childhood and through life, we're always having that pursuit of superiority. So it's always trying to be better and be happier, or like not happier, but just be better. So like obviously as toddlers, we want to learn how to stand up properly, and then we want to learn how to walk, and then we want to learn how to talk, and then we want to learn how to, you know what I mean? So we obviously constantly trying to be better at things. So just trying to be good, trying to be better at things, and then that's where he gets this pursuit of superiority, because apparently globally, that's like globally as humans, that's all what we are trying to achieve, and we all do it because we are all born helpless in this world. And so with that, the opposite of it is feeling inferior, and that kind of made me remember about the stuff that I was talking about last week, right? Where I'm like possessions over, sorry, experiences over possessions, and then thinking about the reason why I used to buy this type of clothes, why I used to buy these shoes, why I wanted this car, why I wanted this watch, why I wanted to look this way, and then making me realize that it was because I wanted to be accepted by my peers, and then that in itself comes from feeling inferior. So having that feeling of inferiority. So it's like I'm lacking something, and thereof or therefore I can't achieve or be like this. I mean, if you do get a chance to pick up the book, it's fucking. I'm only halfway through it, and it's making me think a lot about my past and how, because it's basically a psychology book, man. It talks about a lot of the Adler psychology, like I said before. So Alfred Adler, I think is his name. It talks about psychology, man. So it talks about all this stuff like the pursuit of superiority and the feeling of inferiority. So just touching that, or just touching on that. Yeah. So man, why would I be feeling inferior? Now it made me think, right? Okay, I was 7 or 8 years old. I can't remember when I came to Australia. I did not speak English. Uh, the only words that I would have known was hello, bye, maybe, thank you. So as a child, I don't really remember my childhood as much. I don't know if it's because a defense mechanism, because I'm just trying to forget things. It could be, man. Maybe I should get a psychiatrist, psychologist on here next and just go through my past and learn more about it. But yeah, so I came here to Australia from Peru. I didn't speak English. I just spoke Spanish. So from then, man, I felt like since I can't speak the language, I felt inferior to everyone else. I felt I was lacking the language, therefore I'm not confident to speak. And I didn't. I didn't speak. I wasn't outgoing. And I guess through that, it made me into a fuck. What are those types? When you're an outgoing person. Man, why isn't this word coming to me? Introvert. That's the word. So man. But now, see, now I'm thinking. Now, does that become subjective though? Because if I think about it, that because this has happened and I am here, therefore I'm inferior, and therefore I am now an introvert. Is that subjective? Wow, man, gotta love thinking about shit like this because it makes you think so much. But yeah, so like I was saying, so obviously as a young one, being 8 years old, let's say I was eight, not having English, so already starting to feel inferior, from that age. And then going to school, man, like you go to primary school. I don't remember much primary school, but what do you do when you're not learning? You've got recess, you got lunch, so you want to be hanging out with your friends. So you want to be already part of a community. And now, if you can't speak the language, which was me, how do you become friends with people? So I guess since then, I've always, because I didn't have the language, I've had to make sure that I look a certain way or that I dress this certain way so I can be accepted by my peers so then they could talk to me. So it made me realize, man, it's made me think about this so much because then I'm like, fuck, bro. Maybe maybe the reason why I've been an introvert or maybe the reason why I've been shy is because of that feeling of inferiority because I didn't know how to speak the language to communicate with my peers. And then obviously as I grew older, I went to high school and I learned English and then I guess I started to get more friends, but it wasn't until I remember now. It wasn't until probably year 11, I was 17 or 16 where I would always think about what others would think about me a lot. So I wouldn't do crazy shit. But then once I got up to year 11, 16, 17, I was like, fuck it, bro. I don't give a fuck about high school anymore. Like I don't want to even be here. Like what the fuck is the point of these studies? Like I guess at that point I had already like my mind was expanding and I started to realize that you don't need to have an education to be successful or what is the idea of successful, you know what I mean? Like it's just all subjective again. So man, it's funny because I'm learning more about myself as I'm actually talking about it. Damn. So yeah, like because of that, it's made me realize that maybe that's why, or maybe that's one of the reasons why I used to want this possession. So I've been brought up wanting all these things. Like I need to make sure I have this type of car so I can get accepted by my peers, and it all comes from that feeling of inferiority. And it might be because when I came to Australia, I didn't speak the language, so I felt that I was lacking all that. And I guess by me talking about this, I just wanna, I just want you to reflect more on it, man. Like, can you think of times where you have been feeling inferior, where you're like, when you think about your life, like, let's give you an example. It's like, fuck, I can't get a good job because I didn't get a good education, and that's just creating excuses, right? But again, it's because of that lacking. Oh, sorry, it's because you're feeling inferior to everything, and I guess that's not a really good way to look at it, right? Because it's like, well, why are you thinking about it as in a past kind of thing where you could be like thinking about what can I do now? Right? Because if you're thinking that you can't get a good job because you don't have a good education, it's like, well, can you go and study now? Can you get an education now? So you can get a better job. And most, bro, like some of my mates are business owners, and majority of the people that are business owners, they didn't go to high school. I mean, sorry, they didn't go to high school. They did go to high school. They didn't go to uni and study for fucking 4, 5, 6, 7 years to get a degree, so then they can work in that field and they make businesses from it. They're not that, man. They're just people that go get shit done and then go through experiences and learn from the experience to get better and better and better, and then they just sell a product or they sell a service because of it, because they've experienced so much in it. And like, I'm not saying that going to school is bad or going to uni is bad, like each to their own, but I guess depending on what you want to do and what you want to achieve in life, there's different ways to go through. Like I never went to uni, and now I co-own a media company, a media technology company. And I never really studied media. The only studying I did was watch YouTube videos on how to do things for fucking number of hours. But yeah, so like that's one example anyway. To put another example that the book actually talks about is that the professor. So like pretty much a conversation goes with a professor and a student, and the professor says how I think he's like 155 centimeters in height. So he's very short, and at an early age, he always thought, or he always felt that feeling of inferiority because he thought he was shorter than everyone else, and he felt that he was lacking the height to be able to do big and good things. But then he had a conversation with his mate when his mate is like, no, you actually have a gift. And he's like, wait, how? And he's like, well, because you're not massive and tall and big, few people are actually more comfortable to talk to you because they don't see you as a threat. And then once his attitude changed towards it, then he realized that it was all subjective. And then once he didn't see it as a inferiority, then he saw it as a good thing, as a benefit. He also talks about, I don't know, I don't think it's Greek, but there's good. Good comes from a specific word, and then the translation of that word, it just means beneficial. So it doesn't it, like, there was no word for good, it just means beneficial. So if something's beneficial, then that's it. Because sometimes things can be bad to someone because it's all subjective, but it can be good to others. So that's why it's just if it's beneficial or not. But yeah, so then like once he learned that and he changed his attitudes towards it, he was able to live like a more happier life, I guess, or just not having that feeling of inferiority, because it's like because it's all subjective, man. Because then he just started to see it as in like, no, it's a positive thing, because if I'm actually going to, be a psychologist or a psychiatrist, I want people to be comfortable talking around me. You know what I mean? Because if I'm too tall, and if I'm too big, I might scare the other person to open up to me the way that they're meant to open up. But if I'm nice and like, but if I'm small, then so it's all subjectively, man. So yeah, like I wanted you to think about that a little bit. I wanted you to think about, like, through your childhood, where do you think you felt inferior? And then, think about it and then see if you can change your perspective towards it. Because it might be something that is still traveling your mind as an adult. And then you're like, fuck. Like, once you have that breakthrough and you let go of that, like, past or that feeling inferior, then you're creating change within your body. You're creating change within your mind to just go into a new path. And then you're like, fuck. And then, turning around that feeling inferior to being a happy being, I guess. But yeah, man. So I think I pretty much talked about everything I wanted to talk about. Yeah, like, I mean, I did write a few points that we are brought up wanting to fit in, man. Like, even from high school, right? Like, we see the popular people having lots of friends, talking with people, and then you're like, fuck, I want, or like talking with the mates, and you're like, I want that. Like, how do I get that? And it's by fitting in, you know what I mean? By finding other groups of people that are into similar interests than you, so you can fit in with them and then be accepted by your peers. So I guess all that, it's all programming that is coming from childhood, man. Like, even like going to childcare, and yeah, so even from a kid, man. And it's funny because in this book, like, or yeah, well, in this book, and also Adler's theory or Adler psychology, he believes that all problems arise from interpersonal relationship problems. Because he gives an example that if you were the only living being on this earth, you wouldn't have any problems. And it's true. Because if I was the only thing here and I didn't have any other relationships, I wouldn't essentially have any problems, because most of the problems comes from comparing yourself to other people. It comes from relationship problems. So like you fighting with someone because of this, or yeah. So it's essentially truth, man. Like, all problems arise from interpersonal relationship problems. So if we know how to deal with our interpersonal relationships, we're essentially not going to have any problems, man, because essentially they all can be subjective. Yeah, I also, what else did I talk about? Or what else did I write about? I wrote about I was a shy kid, when I was younger. Yeah, and obviously I felt inferior because I didn't know the language. Funny story, man. I can't remember. I mean, fuck. I need to make more sense. I think I was like 9 years old, or maybe like eight. Um, First year. Also, man. So when I got here, I didn't have a visa to study. So I guess I did go through some traumatic experiences there, where no school will accept me because I didn't have the right visa to study, and then just seeing my mum upset, cry, and not deal with it so well, because every school we went to, we got rejected. And it's like, what do you mean no school will take my kid to learn? Like, we came here to improve our lives and get better, but yet no school wants to take him. Yeah, so I guess, fuck, that was That was a lot, man. And I was what, like 7 years old, seeing that and be like, holy shit, my mum's upset. My mum's crying because no school wants to take me. Like, wow, that in itself is more shit that I can actually like learn how to deal with, right? Because maybe I felt even more inferior at that point because they put me into a mental state where it's like, no one accepts me. I'll never be accepted. Well, man, I constantly have these revelations within myself. And just thinking about this, I'm like, holy shit, there's still so much more from my past that I need to learn about myself. But yeah, man, like because of all those experiences, I definitely would have been feeling inferior and maybe this shy type of person where I'm more of an introvert and an extrovert because I don't know how to express myself because I didn't know the words to express myself. Fuck, bro. I was a troubled kid. No wonder how I ended up the way that I am now. Oh, man. I can't believe my last line is like being yourself, not worrying about what other people think because we are all the same. Oh, no, we are all here. It's the same trying to win. Wow. It's funny as well because that also comes aligned with the book that I'm reading. Because in Adler Psychology, he talks about some kids are brought up in this competition kind of thing, and I did touch about this earlier as well. It's funny how the beginning comes up full circle to the end, but we are brought up sometimes with siblings into this reality where everything's about competition. But if we could change that outlook, and if we can think about it as if everyone everyone in this life is essentially comrades. So the people that you're going to be going to battle with, and because you all have a common goal, which is win, I guess, win at anything that comes through or like that happens to you in life. So, man, just being more open about that stuff, man. So, because then if I start to think that everyone else out there, um, that I'm not competing with anyone else, then every time I put up, let's say, content out there, I'm not thinking how others are going to react to it or if they're going to be reacting in a negative way, because if they are my teammates, they're going to be supportive. So essentially, everyone's going to be trying to support me with whatever that I do. And then if you have that mentality, then you actually just want to keep being yourself and just keep doing shit, just keep creating more stuff and not having the idea where it's like, I don't want to do it because I'm too worried about what other people are going to think about me. Wow. So yeah, man, it's fucking crazy. Like it's been an hour now that I've been speaking to you guys, and I mean I've been speaking to myself, with just being on this mic. And you know what? I'm not gonna lie. Earlier today, I was like, I don't know if I want to do this podcast because I don't feel like I have anything to talk about. But I feel like this is probably been one of my best sit downs, and just chatted to the mic and learn more about myself because wow, I just need to keep doing this so I can reflect more about my experiences in the past. And bro, the last 5 days have been amazing because I've just been traveling, been out in nature, getting more experiences, and now I know heaps of places to go to with banger fucking lookouts. And oh man, far out. Like I said, I'll put some photos up there. Hopefully, I did. But if you are traveling up, the coastal line of New South Wales up to northern New South Wales and whatnot, give me a shout because I'll be able to tell you some nice spots for you to check out. But yeah, guys, I think I'm going to wrap it at that. I think I talked about everything I wanted to talk about today. Man, what can I end it with? I guess, like I said, I want you to think about your past and think about situations where you would have had the feeling of inferiority and seeing how that has impacted your life until now. Okay, guys, I hope everyone's having a lovely day or night, whatever time it may be that you're watching or listening to this podcast. And I hope you guys have a fantastic and lovely week, and I'll chat to you guys next week. Bye.